Hello, everyone. This is The Power of Now, a guide to spiritual enlightenment. I'm going to read chapter 2. Um, the conscious, the way out of pain. Create no more pain in the present. Nobody's life is entirely free of pain and sorrow. Isn't it a question of learning to live with them rather than trying to avoid them? The greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as its unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, in its form of negativity, the intensity of this pain depends on the degree of resistance of the matter moment. And it in turn depends on how strongly you identify with your mind. The mind will always seek to deny the now and escape from it. In other words, the more you identify with your mind, the more you suffer. Now, the more you are free of pain, of suffering, and free from the egoic mind, why does mind habitually design or resist the now? Because it cannot function and remain in control without time, which is past and future, so it perceives a timeless now as threatening. Time and mind are fact inseparable. Imagine the earth devoid of human life, inhabited only by plants and animals. Would it still have past and future? Could we speak the time in a meaningful way? The question is, what time is it? Or what day is it today? If anybody were to ask, would it be meaningless? The oak tree and the eagle would be bemused by such question. What time? They would ask. Well, of course, it is now. The time is now. What else is there?
Yes, we need a mind as well as time to function in this world. But there comes a point where they take over our lives, and this is where dysfunction, pain, and sorrow sets in. The mind, to ensure that it remains in control, seeks continuously to cover up the present moment with past and future. So as the vitalities and infinite creative potentials of being, which is inspirable from the now, becomes covered by the time. Your true nature becomes obscured by the mind, and increasingly heavily burden of time has been accumulating in human mind. All individuals are suffering under this burden, but they also adding to every moment whenever they ignore or deny the precious moment or reduce it to means of getting to some future moment, which only exists in the mind, never in actuality. The accumulations of time in the collective and individual human minds also holds a vast amount of residuals pain from the past. If you no longer want to create pain of your life and others, if you no longer want to add to the residues of the past pain that still lives on you, then don't create any more time, or at least no more than the necessary to deal with the particles aspects of your life. How to stop creating time? Realize deeply that that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Whereas, therefore, dwelt in times and paid brief visits to the now, have your dwelling place in now, and pay brief visit the past, the futures, when required to deal with the particles aspects of your life situation. Also say yes to the present moment. What could be more fatal, more insane than to create inner resistance to something that already is? What could be more insane than the opposite, the oppose of life itself, which is now and always now? Surrender to what is. Say yes to life and see how life will suddenly start working for you rather than against you.
Okay, so the present moment is sometimes unacceptable, unpleasant, and awful. It is as it is. Observe how the mind labels and how is this labeling process continuing. Sitting in judgment creates pain and unhappiness. By watching the mechanics of the mind, you step out to resistant patterns, and you can then allow the present moment to be. This will give you a taste of a state of inner freedom from external conditions, the state of inner peace. Then see what happens and take action if necessary or possible. Accept and act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. As long as you're able to access the power of your now, every emotion, pain that you experience leaves behind a residue of pain lives on you. It merges with the pain from the past, which was already there, and it becomes logged into your mind and body. This, of course, includes the pain you suffered as a child caused by your unconsciousness of the world into which we were born. This is accumulated pain in a negative energy field that occupies your mind and body. If you look onto it in visibility entirety, it is own right. You are getting quite close to the truth. It is emotionally pain. Body. It has two modes of being dormant and active. Pain body may be dormant 90% of the time. In deeply unhappy person, though, it may be active up to 100% of the time. Some people live almost entirely throughout their pain in their body, while others may experience certain situations, such as intimate relationships or situations linked with past loss, abandonment, physical, emotional hurt, and so on. Anything that can trigger it, particularly resonates with a pain pattern from your past. When it is ready to awaken from its dormant stage, even though or innocent remark made by someone close to you can activate it.
Some pain bodies are obnoxious but relatively harmless. For example, like a child who won't stop whining. Others are vicious and destructive, monsters, true demons. Some are physically violent, many more are emotionally violent. Some will attack people around you or close to you, while others may attack you. Their host, thoughts, and feelings you have about your life then become deeply negative and self-destructive. Illnesses and accidents are often created in this way. Some pain bodies drive their hosts to suicide. When you thought you knew a person's there, and then you are suddenly confronted with this alien, nasty creatures for the first time. You are in for quite a shock. However, it's more important to observe it in yourself than in someone else. Watch out for any signs of unhappiness in yourself, when in whatever form. It may be awakening pain in body. This can take the forms of irritations, impatience, and somber mood. A desire to hurt, anger, rage, depressions, and need to have a drama in your relationships, and so on. Catch it the moment it awakens from its dormant state. The pain body wants to survive just like every other entities to existence, and it can only survive if it gets you and to unconsciously identify with it. it can then raise up, take you over, become you, and live through you. It needs to get its food through you. It will feed any experience that resonates with its own kind of energies, anything that creates futures, furthers pain in whatever forms, anger, destructiveness, hatred, griefs, emotional traumas, violence, and even illnesses. So the pain body, when it takes you over, will create a situation in your life that reflects back its own energies, frequency, for it to feed it. Pain can only feed on pain. Pain cannot feed on joy. It finds it quite ingestible. Once the pain body has taken you over, you want more pain. You become a victim or a predator. You want to inflict pain, or you want to suffer pain, or both. There isn't really much differences between the two. You are not conscious of this, of course, and you and will vehemently claim that you do not want pain, but looks closely, and you will find what your thinking and behavior are designed to keep the pain going for yourself and others. If you were truly conscious of it, the patterns would dissolve for to want more in insanity, and nobody in consciously insane. The pain body, which is the dark shadow cast by the ego, is actually afraid of the light of your consciousnesses. It is afraid of being found out. Its survival depends on your unconsciousness identifications with it, as well as your own unconsciousness, fear in facing the pain that lives in you. But if you don't face it, you don't bring the light of your consciousness into the pain. No, you will be forced to relive it again and again. The pain body may seem to you like a dangerous monster that you cannot bear to look at, but I assure you that it is a substantial phantom that cannot prevail against the power of your presence. Some spiritual teachings state that all pain is ultimately an illusion, and this is true. The question is it true for you? A mere belief doesn't make it true. Do you want to experience pain for the rest of your life and keep saying that it is an illusion? Does that free you from the pain? What are the concerned with here is how you are realize this truth. That is, make it real in your own experiences. So the pain body doesn't want you to observe it directly and see it for what it is. The moment of you observe it, feel the energy feeling within you and take your attentions into it, and identification is broken and higher dimensions of consciousness has come in. I call it present. You are now the witnesses of watchers of the pain body. This means that it cannot use you anymore. Cannot use you anymore by pretending to be you, and it can no longer replenish itself through you. You have found yourself. You have found your own innermost strength. You have you have accessed the power of now. It's a monster. Huh? What's that? What happened to the pain body when we become conscious enough to break our identification with it? Unconscious creates it. Consciousness transmutes it into itself. St. Paul expressed his universal principles beautifully. Everything that is shown up by being exposed by the light, and whatever it exposed to the light itself becomes light. Just as you cannot fight the darkness, as you cannot fight the pain body. Trying to do so will create inner conflicts and thus further pain. Watching it is enough. Watching that implies accepting it as part of what it is that moment. The pain body consists of the trapped life energies that has split it off from your total energies field and has temporarily become anonymous through the unnatural process of the mind identification. It has turned into a one on itself and become anti-life, like animal trying to devour its own tail. Why do you think our civilizations has become a life destructive? But even the life destructive forces are still life energy. When you started to identify and become the watcher, the pain body will continue to operate for a while and will try to trick you into identifying with it again. Although you are no longer energizing it through the edifications, it has just certain momentum, just like a spinning wheel that will keep turning for a while even when it is no longer being propelled. At this stage, it may also create physical aches and pain in different parts of your body, but they won't last. Stay present, stay conscious. Be be the ever alert guardians of your inner space. You need to be present enough to be able to watch the pain body directly and feel its energy, and then connect and control your thinking. The moment your thinking is aligned with the energy field of the pain body, you are identified with it and again feeding it your thoughts. For example, if your anger is the predominant energies vibrations of the pain body, and you think angry through thoughts dwelling on what someone did to you or what you are going to do to him or her, then you have become unconsciousness, and the pain body has become you. Where is anger? There is always pain underneath. Or when the dark mood comes upon you and you start getting into a negative mind pattern and thinking how dreadful your life is. Your thinking has become aligned with the pain body and you have become unconscious and vulnerable to pain body's attacks. Unconsciousness, the way that I use the word here means to be identified with some mental and emotional pattern. It applies to complete absence of the watcher. Sustains conscious attention severes the link between the pain body and your thoughts, the processes, and brings about the process of transmutation. It is as if the pain becomes fuel for the flames of your body, for your consciousness, which then burns more brightly as the result. This is the esoteric meaning of the ancient art of alchemy. The transmutations of base metal into gold and suffering into consciousness. The split within the heel is healed, and you become whole again. Your responsibility then is not to create further pain. Let me summarize the process. Focus intentions on the feelings inside you. Now it is the pain body. Accept that it is there. Don't think about it. Don't let your feelings turning into a thinking. Don't judge or analyze. Don't make an identify for yourself out of it. Stay present and continue to be the observer of what it is happening inside you. Become aware not only of the emotional pain, but also the one who observes, the silence watcher. This is the power of now and the power of your own conscious presence. Then see what happens.
Okay, so for many women, the pain body awakens, particularly in the time preceding to the menstrual flow. I will talk about this for a reason for a more detail later. Right now, let me just say if you're going to be able to stay alert and present in the watch time and watch whoever you feel within, rather than be taken by over it, it affords the opportunity for most powerful spiritual practice and rapid transmutation. All of the past becomes possible. Ego identification and with past body, pain and body. The process of I've described profoundly powerful yet simple. It can be taught to a child, and hopefully one day it will be one of the first things children learn in school. Once you understood the basic principle of being present of the watcher happens inside of you, and you understand and experience it, you have at your disposal the most potent transformational tool. This is not to deny you may encounter intense inner resistance of disidentifying from your pain. This is what, by the case, particularly if you live close identify with your emotional pain body. For most of your life, the whole or a large part of your sense of self invested in it. What this means is that you made an unhappy self out of your pain body and believe that this mind made fiction is who you are. In that case, unconscious fear of losing your identity will create strong resistance of a disidentification. In other words, you rather would call the pain in the body. Then take a leap into the unknown, the risk of losing the familiar unhappy self. If this applies to you, observe the resistance within yourself, observe the attachment to your pain, be very alert, observe the particular pleasure you derive from being unhappy. Observe the compulsion to talk about it or think about it. The resistance will seize you if you make a conscious. You can take your attention into your pain body, stay present as your witness, and initiate its transmutation. Only you could do this. Nobody can do it for you. But if you are fortunate enough to find somebody who is intensely conscious, it can be with them and join them state of presence. That can be helpful and accelerate things in this way. Your own light will quickly grow stronger. When a log are just started to burn in its place next to the burning furnace fiercely, and after for a while is separated again, the first log will burn in much greater intensity. After all, it's the same fire. To be such fire of one of the functions of a spiritual teacher, some therapists maybe some fulfill that function, provided so they have gone beyond the level of mind and create a sustained state of intense conscious presence while they are working with you. The origin of fear. You mentioned fear as being a part of basic underlying emotional pain. How does fear arise, and why is there so much of it in people's lives? And it's a certain amount of fear, just unhealthy self-protection. If I didn't have fear of fire, I might put in my hand and get it burned. The reason why you don't put your hand in fire is not because of fear. It's because you know you'll get burned. You don't need to have fear to avoid necessary danger, just a minimum of intelligence and common sense. For such practical matters, it is useful to apply lessons learned from the past. Now that someone threatened you with fire or with physical violence, you might experience something like fear. This is an intensive shrinking back from danger, but not from psychological condition of fear that we are talking about here. The psychological condition of fear is divorced from any concrete and true immediate danger. It comes from many forms: unease, worry, anxiety, nervousness, tension, dread, phobia, and so on. This kind of psychological fear is always something might happen, not from something that is happening now. You are here and now, while your mind is in the future. This creates anxiety gap. And if you're identified with the mind and you're not lost of touch with the power of simplicity in now, the anxiety gap will then constant companion. You can always cope with the present moment. But you cannot cope with something that is in your mind projection. You cannot cope with the future.
Moreover, as long as you are identified with your mind, the ego runs your life. As I pointed out earlier, because of its phantom nature and despite its elaborated defense mechanism, the ego is very vulnerable and insecure, and it sees itself as constantly under threat. This, by the way, in the case even if the ego is outwardly very confident. Now, remember that emotions is the body reactions to your mind. Uh, what message the body receiving continuously from the ego defaults the mind-made self. Danger. I am under threat. And what is the emotions generated by the continuous message? Fear, of course. Fear seems to have many causes: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being hurt, and so on. But ultimately, all fears is the ego. Fear is death and humiliations. To the ego, death is always just around the corner. In this mind identified state, fear of the death affects every aspect of your life. For example, even such a seemingly trivial and normal things as the compulsives need to be right in the argument and makes the other person wrong. Defending the mental positions with which you have identified is due to the fear of death. If you identify the mental positions, then if you are wrong, your mind-based sense of the self seriously threatening with inhalations. So you, as the ego, cannot afford to be wrong. To be wrong is to die. Wars have been fought over this, and countless relationships have broken down. Once you have this identified from your mind, whether you are right or wrong makes no difference to your sense of self at all. So your forces compulsive and deeply unconscious need to bring, which is a form of violence, will no longer be there. You can state clearly and firmly how you feel or what you think, but there will be no aggressiveness and defensiveness about it. Your sense of self is to derive from the deeper and truer places within yourself, not from the mind. Watch out for any kind of defenses within yourself. What are you defending? An illusory an entity, an image of your mind, a fictitious entity? By making the patterns conscious but witnesses it, you disidentify from it. In the light of your consciousness, the unconscious pattern will quickly dissolve. This is the end of the arguments and power games, which are so coercive to relationship, but over others as weaknesses digest as strength. True powers is within, and it is valuable to you now. So, anyone who is identified with the mind and therefore disconnected from their true power, their deeper self-rooted is being, will have fear as their constant companion. The number of people who have gone beyond mind is as yet extremely small. So you cannot assume that virtually everyone you met or now lives in a state of fear. Only the intensity of it varies. It fluctuates between anxieties and dreads at one end to the scales and vogue, unease, and distance, sense of threat of the other. Most people become conscious of it and only when it takes on one of its more and acute forms.
Okay, the ego search for wholeness. Another aspect of emotional pain that is an intrinsic part of egoic mind is a deep-seated sense of lack of incompleteness, of not being whole. And some people, this is the conscious, and others, it's unconscious, but it's the mind. Mind versus soul. It is conscious. It manifests as unsettling and constant feelings of not being worthy or good enough. If the unconscious, it will not only be felt indirectly as intense craving, wanting, or needing. In either case, people often enter in compulsive pursuit of ego gratification and things to identify with in order to feel the hole they need to fill within. So they strive after possessions, money, success, power, recognition, or special relationship. Basically, they need to feel better about themselves, right? Feel more complete. But even if they obtain all these things, they soon find a hole is still there that is bottomless. Then they are really in trouble because they cannot delude themselves anymore. Well, they cannot hide from the real fact. There, it gets more difficult. As long as the egoic mind is still running from your life, you cannot truly be at ease. What is the truth? You're hiding yourself, your ego from within. You cannot hide forever from the truth. You cannot be peaceful or fulfilled except for brief intervals when you fulfill what you wanted. When a craving has just been fulfilled, since the ego is derived from sense of self, it needs to identify with external things. It needs to be both defended and fed constantly. The most common ego identifications have to do with possessions, the work you do, social status, recognition, knowledge of education, physical appearance, special abilities, relationships, personal family histories, belief systems, and often political and nationalistic, racial, religious, and other collective identifications. None of these are you. The real you. Do you need this frightening or relief of this now? All of these things of you replenish sooner or later. Perhaps you find it yet hard to believe. I am certainly not asking you to believe that your identity cannot be found in all those things. You will know the truth of it for yourself. You will know that the latest, when you feel death approaching, death is stripping away all of the not as you. The secret life is not to die before you die. It is stripping away the illusions and find out that there is no death. Okay, everyone, that is the end of chapter 2. Keep you toasted next time. Thank you.